Hadley, what up? Antonio, what up? Yeah, I did. Hold on, let me get something to drink. Yeah. Fabian, what up? He sent a picture of Squidward and say, "Is that you?" Because he's got a big forehead.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1,
These, I got these from Temu. 15 bucks. Like 15 bucks. I don't think they make them anymore. You can check. I got them from Temu. They were cheap. Yeah, they were like 10 bucks. They sound great. They work with Bluetooth. You can put the little microphone wire, and it works. I don't know where I put it. Somewhere here it is. It's a little microphone wire. You can stick it in there, and you can talk. You can put an input there. You know what I mean? I've had them for a while. I gotta get my speed back. Thank you. So, I got it from Walmart. Like $7. Here we go. Synergy. Oh, just when I was getting into the groove. I hate commercials. Oh, it's a Yamaha. Ah, nice. Oh, he's not really doing anything. He's just kind of basically soloing. You can't really go all out. Now, is that the house snare? I know that's the house kit. How old is this? Okay. It's fairly old. Let's see what else they got in Tiny Room. You heard of Tiny Desk? They got Tiny Room. It's all like insane musicians. Jesus Molina, Hadrian, Gordon Campbell, Roca, Rustlin Sirota. Gordon Campbell, he's great. Greg Sparrow. Ah, that's what he's doing. Danny Carey, he's all right. Never heard of Dana Carey. Dana Carey. You mean Danny Carey? I don't really listen to a lot of rock drummers anymore. And I don't want this to come off like kind of sideways, but I'm not really. I stopped being challenged by rock when I was like maybe 17, 18. By then I was like, no, probably like 15, 16. Because you see what you hear is what you see live. There's no improvisation. And later on, I found like it was a because rock was like my first love. But then I started going to concerts and I started seeing these guys. I'm like, they're playing the exact same thing that I hear on the record. I wanted, I assumed all musicians improvised, and that's not the case with most rock bands. Prog, it might be a little different. Some prog bands, they improvise. But I kind of switched to just only playing jazz and even gospel. Gospel's it's very improvisational. But jazz and other kinds of improvisation, like electronic music, a lot of that's improvisational. Because the thing about being able to improvise is you have to play something completely off the cuff and make it sound like you played it night after night the same way. And traditionally, most, and this ain't a slight to rock and roll. Like I said, it was my first love. But most rock musicians can't do that. They just can't. You know what I mean? So, Stu, what up, man? And yeah, they can't improvise, man. Jazz, you are expected to improvise. You are expected to not play the same song and make it recognizable, but don't play the same thing night after night. Don't. That's the whole point that's one of the points of jazz, being able to improvise. Being able to improvise, and like I said, make it sound like you make it sound like you play it all the time. Make it sound like you play that same riff all the time when you don't. You know what I mean? It takes a lot more finesse. Your timing has to be better, because it's easy to play the same thing over and over and over. Your timing's going to be great. You're playing the same thing over and over and over. But can you play something else with just a solid time? You know what I mean? And I don't mean this. I don't mean that. I mean, like right now, I'm listening to, on face value, you'd be like, oh, this is kind of like funky soul. It's not. If they were to play this song again, they would play it completely different. But that's why I like improvisational music. you know. And that's why I kind of stopped listening to rock, man, because it's. I'll say this, man. I started off playing guitar, and one of the most heartbreaking things I experienced was, I'm showing my age. I went to Van Halen 1 concert. They were opening up for Sabbath when Ozzy was there. Showing my age. And I had the album. I belonged to some Warner Brothers at the time. They had the same thing with the Columbia Book Club or Columbia Record Club, where you pay a penny and then they send every month they send you a different album. But you're paying a penny, but really after like a year you got to pay all that. They don't tell you that, but that's how they get you. You pay a penny, you get an album every month. And I didn't pay for it. My dad did, so whatever. But he gave me the album. He was like, "Hey, man, you ever hear these guys?" I'm like, "Man, who?" He's like, "Just listen to it, man. Tell me what you think about it," because he never heard of them. So I heard it, and at first I was like, I didn't like it because it was completely over my head. The playing, the style, the production was like Van Halen. Van Halen 1 is, the music may be different, but it's still either directly or indirectly has molded how modern rock sounds. At the time, it was so over my head. I was used to Jimmy Page and, Jeff Beck and Jimi Hendrix and, guys like that. Even like Joe Walsh, Tommy Bolin, Eric Clapton, the usual greats. So when Van Halen 1 came out, I didn't like it. And my dad was like, "Hey, Sabbath is coming to town." So I was like maybe 13. And yeah, this was 78. I was 13. And they came to town, and Van Halen opened up for them. And I lost my mind. I was like, holy smoke. I lost my mind. But hearing what Eddie played, I was like, oh man. You know what I mean? It was an eye-opener, and I became an instant diehard Van Halen fan. But what got me was they played the exact same songs the way they were on the record, except for little parts where they would have just like when he played Eruption, he made Eruption Explosion. Like it was, you know what I mean? He stretched it out. Like he improvised. I said, okay, he has the ability to improvise, but how come his guitar solos in each song aren't improvised? Because that's what I was used to listening to. And I was like, wow, man. And I remember later on when I was like maybe 14 or 15, thinking there's gonna come a time I'm going to move to something else, because more and more I'm seeing like rock guys don't improvise, and that's where I want to, like, that's one of the things, like I thought that's how you played. Sure, you got to play parts, but at least improvise the solos, even now, like the way I play, I don't listen to a song and sit down and learn every sticking pattern and all that, and I'll learn a basic outline, I'll learn a basic groove, but I'll improvise it. I'll improvise everything. Now, if you don't have the vocabulary, I don't suggest you do it. You have to study a lot of different kinds of music. Your technique has to be ridiculous, because you got to make it sound like you meant to do it, not like, oops, it was a happy mistake, or, you got to make it sound like you meant to do it. But that's why I like not just jazz, but all improvisational music, because, like I heard Wynton Marsalis say this. He said, you're expected to play at the technical ability of a classical musician. but you're expected to groove and bop hard like any R&B musician or jazz musician, you know, or whatever, you know, or play, because a lot of jazz musicians can't play rock. They can't. They play too soft. They just don't have the energy. They don't have the rage in them, you know, which is why I don't, you know, I can play Spang-a-lang, Spang-a-lang, you know, but I really like fusion because fusion has the rage, it has the angst, it has the energy of rock, but it has the finesse and it has the skill set of jazz, you know, in the improvisational side of jazz. That's why I like fusion, you know. So a lot of what you hear nowadays you think is jazz, it's not, it's fusion, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that. There's more technical drummers. That's exactly it. You pay a penny and then you overpay in the future. Yeah, oh yeah. That's the scam. Now, I like Dave Weckl. He's dope. Now, Neil Peart, I'll say this. And I can honestly say this because Neil Peart inadvertently taught me how to play drums. And whether God, you know, R.I.P. bro. Whether he knew it or not, I learned every Rush album from Fly By Night when he first joined the band to Chutes and Ladders. That's a few decades. That's like maybe a decade and a half of albums. Even the bootlegs, like the Exit Stage Left album, that's called the Working Man Solo. And the reason why it's called the Working Man Solo is because their first album, when they had John Runcie as the drummer, they had a song called Working Man. And that was the song where Neil would play a drum solo. So before Exit Stage Left, the live album before that was All the World's a Stage. It started off as the Working Man solo, and then on Caress of Steel they had a little section called Didacts and Narpets. It was just drums and Geddy Lee singing like over the drums. No guitar, no bass, just drums and vocals. And it's maybe 2 minutes, maybe 50 seconds. Then you go to All the World's a Stage, and you see kind of the roots of that Exit Stage Left monster solo. By the time he got to Exit Stage Left, that's when you're like, oh, this is what it had become. So I know intimately Neil Peart's style. As a matter of fact, I had to learn other stuff because I was sounding too much like Neil Peart. But as far as technique, I've heard way better. I think the problem is when you listen to only rock and roll, you look at it as you're living in a bubble. Just like when you listen to jazz, you're living in a bubble. The guys like Miles Davis, he knew that. He was in the jazz world and he was just like, he understood he was living in a bubble, which is why he kept leaving that bubble and going into other fields and going and playing other stuff. You know, he was experimenting with funk and rock and stuff like that, which was his Bitches Brew album, which was the first shot heard around the world in terms of fusion, you know, fusing all different kinds of genres into what he was doing. Critics hated it. And then they had to bow down and respect him and say, oh, he knew what he was doing before anybody knew what it was. He was always moving. And always trying to look outside of the bubble of where he was at the time. And I gotta respect that, because as musicians or as music lovers or whatever, you live in a bubble. You only listen to what you listen to, and you think what you listen to is the greatest thing since sliced bread. When there's other stuff outside of your bubble that you're like, whoa, I didn't know, and then you're like, you do your history on it, and you're like, oh, this guy's been around forever. I never knew, because you've just been in your bubble, So there are guys who were smoking, man. Like even if you want to hear somebody who was unexpectedly good, and I'm not talking about his stuff with Genesis, I'm talking about his stuff with Brand X. What's his name? Phil Collins. Phil Collins was a beast. He was like straight up improvisational. He was a beast. All that. He did that to make money. Just like Chester Compton, the big black guy that was playing on the double bass kit. He joined Phil Collins' band because he wanted to make money. He started off with Weather Report. Then he left Weather Report and he started off with Frank Zappa. Then he left Frank Zappa and he started playing with Genesis. Phil Collins was a fan of his, and Phil Collins on a sneak tip was a serious jazz head. He was a serious fusion drummer. So he was like, game recognized game. I need somebody better than me on the drums, which I'm kind of like, I like Phil Collins' style better, no disrespect, Chester Thompson. I definitely like Phil Collins. His style was better. He was just a sick drummer, man. He really was, man. But he played on an album called Brand X by a band named Brand X, and it was an album called Do They Hurt. Particularly a song called DMZ. That song is smoking. It's the last song on the second side. That song is smoking, man. But I didn't really think to look outside my bubble until I met this guy named John Marchanian. He was like a serious drum teacher. He taught a lot of guys where I'm from. A lot of guys. And all those guys are smoking. So imagine how good he was. And his teacher was even better. But he pulled me under his wing, man. And like my mom went to see how much lessons would cost, and she couldn't afford it. I was like maybe 11 or 12. And then, we couldn't afford the lessons. By the time I hit like 16, he recognized me. I mean, it was pretty easy. I was the only black dude. It was all white dudes. It was only black. I was playing metal at that time. I was the only black dude. He's like, hey, man. He recognized me. He said, your name is Mark, right? I said, yeah. He was like, man, hop in, man. I want you to listen to some things. And he just started playing all this stuff, man. I was like, what? And he gave me some of the tape. He was like, hey, take that, man. Take this. I was like, you sure? He was like, take it, man. And that really was the foundation of me discovering like other music outside of just punk and metal and the stuff that I was listening to. So, but yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff out there, man, that was happening when Neil was around. And to be honest, eventually I realized that, okay, this is where Neil was getting that from. This is the guy Neil was getting that from. That guy Neil was getting that from him. So, and even in rock, man, like I look at guys like Stuart Copeland. Stuart Copeland was a fusion drummer. He was a jazz fusion drummer. You know what I mean? He just loved reggae. And at the time, the ska scene was really popping off in England. So he started the Police. The Police was his band. And his brother was like a manager. He was like he was a manager, and his brother was a manager. His uncle was like an executive for A&M Records and stuff like that. So he had connections. But he was a fusion drummer. I look at guys like him, who like he was very overlooked because Sting was such a strong songwriter and such a strong just performer and such a strong bassist and such a strong he was a strong presence. People look at he overshadowed what Stewart was doing. It was really Stuart Copeland's band. I look at guys like even I'll say this, Clive Burr, the original drummer for Iron Maiden. Clive Burr was a great drummer. He was an incredible drummer. Nico McBrain was an incredible drummer. Lars Ulrich, not really. He did what worked for Metallica, but I know this because Metallica used to be signed to Megaforce Records out of Saddlebrook, New Jersey. You can Google all this stuff. And I lived in Belmar, which was a resort town. Saddlebrook was more inland. Belmar is on the shore. It's a resort town. You go on vacation, you go to Belmar, New Jersey. You want to go surfing, go to Belmar, New Jersey. It was a resort town, huge beaches, volleyball, all that stuff. But Metallica used to play house parties. They used to play house parties on the Jersey Shore. And Lars was all right, man. But one of the things they used to make him play to a metronome because his timing was trash. It was horrible. But he did what worked for Metallica. I think just his approach and his rage, it really shined through in his energy. That's what shined through in his drumming, But it's pretty easy. Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield, you know what I mean? And old boy who died, R.I.P., can't remember his name. The bass player, can't remember his name. Dang, it sucked. I can't remember his name. I actually saw them at the Beacon Theater before he died. And they were, by the time I saw them, Ride the Lightning was out. And I was like, whew, wow. We all knew, the Beacon Theater's in New Jersey. We all knew who they were, so it was kind of hey, But we were like, what in the world? Just, touring and stuff makes you just better because you're playing all the time. They went on tour, and they were like, sheesh. Cliff Burton, Yeah, no, I didn't want to say it. But yeah, that's why I was saying he works for what they were doing. He worked for what they were doing. I'll take Charlie Benanti from Anthrax before I'll take Lars. Charlie was a way better drummer. A drummer who I think sucked? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it. Because I don't want to come off as hating. But he literally didn't do anything for me. I was like, I suck and I'm better than him. When I first saw him, I was like, I suck. I suck and I'm better than him. He was just basic. He was like this. I'm not gonna say old boy from AC/DC, not him. I liked him. He's a good drummer. He worked for what they did. Plus, I just liked his energy. Can't remember his name. Phil Rudd. I like Phil Rudd. Let me see if this is charged. Man, you want me to say him, bro? My cousin's in the band. My cousin was the lead singer. I hope he doesn't see this. Corey, if you're in the chat, I'm sorry. Living Color. Living Color. Can't remember his name. The drummer for Living Color. Can't remember his name. Muzzy was the original bass player. I can't remember his name. Muzzy Skillings. Will Calhoun. He was horrible. I'm sorry, he was horrible, bro. He was horrible. That's not fair, though. Karen Carpenter was a really good drummer, man. I didn't really appreciate what she was doing. I was like, she's a girl, she can't be good. Then I got older and I started like watching her stuff. I was like, man, that chick was smoking. She was really good. The Karen Carpenter was a beast on drums. She was a beast on drums. Like I stole a couple of her licks. Definitely. I stole some of her licks. Yeah, I'll take Karen Carpenter over Lars any day. I'll take Karen Carpenter over a lot of drummers. I'll take Karen Carpenter over Will Calhoun any day. All right, I gotta let my phone charge, so I can stream. Cause I need to practice on this kit, man. I'm tired of playing these rubber pads.